Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show. Give them a call and let them tune into our show. And anybody that wants to ask me any questions, please call in. The number is 888-499. When I get into this state, I have to have somebody else. I'm in a sort of trance, but it's up on the screen.
888-994-4995, Studio A.
Thank you, Dawn. One of my guests, Dawn, Freddie, Steve, and another friend of mine will be here in a minute. Okay, today I just want to explain something to you. I know people that are listening have been listening to me now, that have followed me for maybe a year and a half. I'm not here to change anybody. You are what you are, you believe what you believe. I'm here basically to explain my situations of what have happened to me. This started like 19 years ago. I was getting a lot of messages. I won't go into them because that's another show. But I began to listen. And that's all this is about. If I can open people's minds a little bit to just listen to some of my own experiences and some of my guests that are on the show or the questions, I can only tell you what's happened to me. Obviously, with this happening to me, I believe. But I understand because I was right there 19 years ago when someone spoke to me like this. And I said to myself, I don't know, but I truly believe there is so much more. So I'm here to just maybe open your mind a little bit, which we had talked about a little bit on the previous show. Take from it whatever you want, tell your friends, but I am an example of someone that was stubborn, but someone that truly believes there is so much more going on in this world today. And I don't prepare for my show at all in any way. I'm open to any questions because I truly believe that I'm going to be led with the correct answers from my guides. If you ask me this maybe in the morning or, as you know, Steve, a question, I may not have that answer, but I don't prepare myself, but I'm sitting here. And as you guys know, in the studio, we get many visitors coming in. Okay, so I'm here to answer questions for you, for myself, for anybody in the studio. I can only spread the word of what has happened to me. And every single thing that I say has happened, that is true, that has happened to me. So hopefully that helps people.
What's your background in doing this?
My background and kind of my motivation really is to show people, and I've often said that there's anything is possible, but without a faith, without believing that, and I'm not referring to religion or anything, it's a faith within yourself. If you truly believe in yourself, Dawn, miracles happen. We hear about it. I used to sit and listen to people, they said, if you pray, miracles happen. But you know what? You have to believe that, because I believe in mass. If we all get together and we pray about something, yes, we're changing a vibrational energy. And that's what I talk about a lot on my show, is vibrational energy. Do I have proof of who's out there, who's listening? I don't, just like anybody else. We can sit here and I can say, I see this person or that person. I can't prove that to anybody. I can only prove what's happening to me, how I'm able to answer, how we have synchronicity, how we have things happen that just happen, which can't be coincidence. I've said that for many years. And we actually have a story, Steve and I, of what actually happened to show Steve exactly about what happened. And we'll get to that in a few minutes, okay? But it's an important message. I believe that my message is important, but it's still up to the listener to be able to understand that. As I can talk from experience. I did not understand any of this in the beginning, and that's only going back 18, 19 years, and here I am today wanting to spread this word.
Do you pray for it to come? And when I say pray, because I think when people come into the studio, it's not, is it prayer for religion? Is it spirituality? Is it prayer or manifestation to a higher being? What is it that people are doing?
I love that question because I believe it's all of the above. I just know, and I'm so confident that the right people, my guides, will show me the way. Do I know? For me, it's not necessarily religion. It's a faith in believing that there is something greater than ourselves. And it's up to each individual. It doesn't matter whatever they believe, as long as they believe that there is something greater than ourselves. Nobody taught, I had Aldo, my friend, to help me with this, but through my own situation, through me being able to paint, I did not believe in past lives. Who taught me that? I don't know. I just know that I was drawing from past lives. Can I say any particular one person? I'm not here to judge anyone for what they believe, but I tell you the most important is to believe. It doesn't matter as long as you believe that there is something out there greater than ourselves.
What do you think when people you run into and they're having visions? You can tell by the way they're looking at you that they see something. When you ask them, I can't talk about that because it can bring in a negative connotation. It can bring in something black. It can be in, and you had a whole storyline as to why they can't tell you.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're believing what they're seeing or they're not believing what they're seeing.
I think that's absolutely it comes under the fact we're all individuals. So we interpret it the way that we see it with where we're believing. I was just speaking to a lady that was talking a little bit, there's dark and there's light. She was a lovely lady on the show before you, but we were coming from a slightly different point of view, but not really, because we had a conversation afterwards and we were coming from the same point of view. Have faith in believing there's something. Once you start bringing in, though, that negativity, and I talk about this often on my show, we're going to bring in more of that negativity. So we're going to attract people. And whether it's right or wrong, I don't choose to be negative today. Obviously, it happens. We're going to bring in a negative will feed more negativity. So I told her my show is about positivity because that's the only way that I can explain what I do. I want to be positive.
But you're a psychic and a medium. When you do a reading, someone comes to you and says, Sally, will you help me with a reading? Do you try to stay on the positive side? Or if you see something unfortunate happening, will you share that information?
Yes, and I've been asked that before because it's kind of interesting. I don't want to be the voice of doom. That's what I'm hearing. However, I have a slight responsibility to share if I see something is going to happen. But and I think I've said this before, just because I see it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen, because we have different paths that we can take, so we can change that. So what I feel now, today, when I do this, if I see something in someone's future that doesn't look great, I'm going to tell them a little bit that we have the power, because we have free will, to change. So be on the lookout maybe for going down that street. I don't know what's going to happen down that street. I might have been told what might happen. However, we have the power to change that. So if they have in their mind, well, she said something might happen down that street, go a different way. I have that power. It's not a power, it's something I have an obligation, I feel, to myself to pass that message on. But I'm not going to say if you go down that street you're going to get run over and you're going to get killed, because I don't know. Maybe that's what they're telling me, but we can change that. So I try to change it in the best way that I know how, so that I'm not going to scare someone.
When you get messages as the psychic, is that different than being a medium?
No, I think it's one of the same. We just call it slightly differently. You know, I heard the word channeling. I had no idea what channeling meant. But then I turned on and I was listening to some programs on channeling, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm a channeler. I didn't know what that means. We label it, but it's all coming from somewhere else. It's basically out in the universe. We're getting messages. And because I am a channeler, a medium, and a psychic, I'm getting the messages because I can hear them. Well, I hear it. It's a telepathy that I feel. I'll give names and I'll give a name, and hopefully that person understands that message. Sometimes people say, you've seen this. I don't know anybody by that name. I said, are you sure? And I might bring it up again and they'll suddenly say, oh yes, that was my uncle's uncle. So don't disregard if someone gives you a name, because if they're able to, I'm not going to say do it, I think we all have the power to be able to do that, but listen to it,
Share the information.
share the information. And I feel gratitude for what I've been able to do today a few years later. I love what I do. I love it when people call me up and they thank me, even if it was something that was kind of maybe not the best way to go, but I had said it in a roundabout way to look out for that. They've called me and said, I'm glad I had that advice.
Do you feel gratitude is important in doing what you do?
Absolutely. Humble, yes, absolutely. All these things that they say, gratitude, that's because I'm somewhere else right now. Yes, it's very, very important, because if I sat here and I said, I'm the only one that can do this and listen to me, I'm never going to do that, because I believe everybody can. But again, you can be too humble. And I've had this pointed out to me that people aren't going to believe me. So I have to say, yes, I have the capability of doing this, and I am giving you a message that I feel is important.
What does it mean? Because you just said, I'm always cold. Me, after our show, I'm always very cold. Is there a reason behind that?
Yes,
is it energetic?
I wanted to tell you that, because I believe that it's only over the last few months that you have been, because you're very hot a lot of the times, you get very warm. So again, I'm not the voice of doom, Dawn, but I think it's to do, which I think you're aware of, it's you're hot and you're cold. So you need to just stabilize that a little bit. It's not cold in here, but if you feel frequently cold in here where you didn't, they're just giving you a message just to check out a little bit.
Turn the air up.
Yeah, just
make it a little warmer.
Well, yes, because not everyone's going to agree, as we
They're
know
all
at
walking around
home.
in winter coats in the other studio.
Yeah, which I was surprised to see
I
you
think
the other day.
everybody's cold.
Yes, but I'm warm because of what I'm doing right now. But when the show is over, maybe not. Right.
So what messages are you getting now?
For you?
For overall, for
I always, and Steve you can verify this. I hurt my leg or my knee yesterday, and I wasn't in the best of moods. I know that obviously I was not ever going to not let you down, because I have a show after this.
I hadn't noticed your change in mood.
But
he can't say anything.
So what was my message for it takes away everything. This studio is unbelievable to bring in positivity, and I think people that come in here, the ones that don't stay though, I'm not criticizing them, that don't necessarily get it, they may not show up. But the ones that get it, and you know that, and I'm certainly one of the ones that get it, will keep coming back. Just because they don't get it at one point doesn't mean that they won't get it a little bit down the road, which is actually a message for you and Freddie right now. Because maybe someone has said to you, and this is what I'm feeling right now, I'll be back next week, this is what I'm going to do. If they don't come back, don't completely say, okay, they're not coming back, because it's all about timing too. We have control over that. So that person that may, and I feel that that's happened or is going to happen with someone that came into the studio, you were expecting them to come back, you were expecting them to do a lot of things. I don't know if they've just showed up or they're going to be showing up, okay? This is important. Don't disregard this, because whoever it is that I'm talking about, this has just suddenly came to me, it's going to be very beneficial for you and for that person. So whatever you might have felt a week, I nearly said a day ago, so it could be very recent. Just keep an open mind on this, because situations change all the time.
You got that, Freddie?
Freddie.
Oh, Sandy's here.
Sandy's here.
Does that
Sandy.
ring a bell at all with you? Do you see what I'm saying a little bit?
With me?
Well, yeah, if you want to talk, Freddie, but you see that maybe you had said, okay, this is just a message that just came out of the blue for me. I believe that somebody came into the studio, and I'm obviously not mentioning any names because you get a lot of people, so I don't want anyone to say, oh my gosh, you're talking about me. That you were quick to pass this off, but don't. Okay, I don't have to know what it is, but that's the message.
No, I don't think that's mine. I think that's Dawn's.
It's Dawn. Okay, is it yours?
I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe they haven't come in yet.
I
because
guess
that
we'll find
timing-
out.
Yes, but don't be quick to say to yourselves, no. A lot of times you may be right when you say that, but this particular person, no. I think it's a good good message that they have. And a
You know,
good,
it's funny, when I started doing this business, I thought everything was a yes. It was just going to be a yes, 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 yes. And people, I'll come back next week, and I expected people to come back next week. And the more I'm in the business, you realize people say things, then not that they don't mean to come back, but life happens, doubts get in their head, they stop believing in themselves, they don't pray, or whatever they say it is. Some people leave here and say, I'm going to pray on it.
Yeah.
The prayer takes a little bit longer for them to hear the messages. So it happens.
and I'm very aware of that too, because I was in sales for 25 years, and it
Exactly.
was a day that they had to make a quick decision, and they'll say, well, we've got to pray on it. I just say, okay,
We've
but
learned
you know.
never to believe in or count on the be-back bus stop
Right,
outside.
but however, in this business, not for so much with what I've done, or maybe you, that they do come back sometimes, and when they come back, it's important.
A little earlier, you were talking about the differences between channeling and messaging and
Right.
psychic ability, and I want to know what might have been in play Saturday morning. Let me share something that happened.
Right.
We went to breakfast, and we're sitting at breakfast, and out of the blue, you remembered about a pair of pants that 2 years ago you brought to the cleaners to have altered, because we were going to go on a vacation. And for some reason, you never picked them up. 2 years went by. You chose to mention to me something about those pants at breakfast. The minute we walked back into the house after breakfast, you got a phone call. It was the cleaner saying, you've left a pair of pants here.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Would you like
Wow.
to come and pick them up? We'll be open till 3.
right.
So what was at play there? Was it channeling, messaging?
No, yes, it was a vibrational energy, but it was more validation. I mean, I've had a lot of validation, Steve, and I know you have too, so obviously you do understand as best you can, as best as I can. It was a message for both of us, actually, to say that there are powers that be that are working, because how, in real life, as we say, could that happen?
I guess Steve
Some-
needs his pants to go back to work. I don't know.
No, it was actually
Are they
my
your pants?
pants. And after 2 years, I mentioned to Steve that I'd left my pants in there. 2 years go by. She chose that day, an hour after I'd mentioned this, to
crazy.
call me up and say the pants not were ready. They were ready 2 years ago, but to come and pick them up if I still wanted them. Obviously, I did.
Saturday was our day of these happenings.
Yeah.
You know,
Do
and
you want to
people,
give the next one?
People, you know, would hear what we're saying and, you know, fluff it off to coincidence, and then they're entitled to do that. But we've had so many things happen that it can't possibly be coincidence. We went out to an early dinner. We get in the car. The first song that comes on is Sweet Caroline. Now, your daughter, who passed a year and a half ago,
That was her
Louise
song, and then-
Caroline, but chose to be called Caroline. We sit down to dinner. The server comes over, introduces herself as Caroline.
So, I mean, if we didn't get it the first time, even on the second, we got it on the third message.
Right.
But to even say even more, and I had this, Sydney, my granddaughter, which was my daughter's daughter, just had chosen that day to move into her first apartment with her fiance.
Aw.
And it was on that very day that all this happened. So, and that happened when she got engaged. We had things that I was
So
getting
what
through
does
from
that
her.
mean? You know, people who are listening, and there's God winks, I call them, coincidences. What's the message? What did you take away from that message?
Well, I took away that it's not, no, I never stop being grateful for these messages. And sometimes I'm even more, I'm going, oh my goodness, look what just happened. But it's not necessarily for me, because I've had a lot of messages, and you have too, Steve. But we get away from it sometimes because life happens. I can't be this person all day long. But it's just here to remind us, because how in the world, if you think about just that one time, and it's happened many more, these 3 things happen. And then I remember my granddaughter was moving into her new first apartment with her fiance that day. So yes, there is more to what we know. Are our loved ones with us? Absolutely. My daughter, and you hear from my daughter sometimes, passed away close to nearly 2 years ago today, and we've had numerous messages. So yes, we all want to believe this, but it's still, are they really around? With all my heart, anybody that's lost anybody, they are with you. They are there. And I've said this before, love never dies. Love never dies. And just know that. We just transition. And we've had a lot of messages, right, from that. So that was a good story. That was a wonderful story.
Yes, you know, I've also learned from you that there are other things at work in all of our situations, in life. Take my cancer, for instance. Okay, I was diagnosed in October. The treatment started in January. I had my last treatment in March, and 5 weeks ago I was declared cancer-free. Now that doesn't happen to most people in that short period of time. There had to be something else at work, and I'm sure you, Aldo,
Well,
had something to do with
yeah,
it.
it's hard for me to answer because I honestly don't know, and hopefully there are other people out there that are going through, and their quickness of the cancer-free happens, because I do believe that. But I do believe by putting out positive vibrational energy, which I tried to do all the time with you, Steve, and I don't know if it was anything to do with me, but what I do know is that I would never give in to what you had. I wouldn't give in to when you'd say to me, I'm feeling bad, which you had every reason to say. And I've said this before, and I will always do this. You know what? It's better than the alternative, this treatment. And I always, and yes, you could interpret that as being, well, she doesn't care. I care more because I won't give in to that negativity, because disease is negativity. And I can't change who I am, and not everybody might like that, and that's fine, as I open my show that way. We all believe what we want to. I'm not here to change anyone. I'm here to spread what happened to me. So did that have any bearing on you getting quick treatment and getting better quicker? I don't know. I don't know the answer. But the positive is you're cancer-free. And for anybody out there, continue to think positive, because it's not just about our show here right now. It's about what's going out on the airways. And there may be people listening that have an illness, and they may have even been told by their doctors, you have 2-3 months to live. I'm very against, and not against doctors, there's whatever that they want to say, but I don't like that negativity going into somebody, because you lose that hope. Say to yourself, well, statistics may show that. Maybe I'm going to be different. I'm going to get rid of whatever is wrong with me. And we have many people out there, doctors, that have talked about this, and doctors themselves, because they have believed to be positive, actually have got better. And there are programs out there about that. So I do believe, and I will say it over and over again, positivity breeds positivity. Negativity breeds negativity.
Steve, what did it mean to you going through it? And now I don't know, but going through it versus coming out of it and looking back, two different perspectives?
Absolutely two different perspectives. When it first started, you go through the why me kind of attitude, and you get rid of that fairly quickly as you get into your treatment, and you say, I can deal with this. The first oncologist that I saw, said, you got it, but it's curable, and that's what we're going to do. And Sally was there with me, and we looked at each other, and it got emotional. And from that point on, when he said, we're going to cure you, my attitude was a lot better. And then coming through it, of course, the radiation treatment, the side effects were horrible, and I'm still, suffering from some of those side effects from the radiation, which will leave eventually. But coming out of it on the other side here, I have so much positive energy surrounding me, and things that I need and want to do. Get back to work, take Sally on vacations, get back to our normal life that we had before it all happened. So from apprehension at the very beginning to extreme positive outlook for the future, that's been the gamut of my emotions, my
It's
feelings.
a long 8-week journey, but your outcome has been tremendous.
Yeah.
And those words that it is curable, which I'm very grateful that he said that, the doctor, because I must have said that to you when you were telling people, and I understand that, you wanted to let people know. I would always say, please start this conversation, and you know that, by saying what I have is curable, but this is what I have going on. And that's so important. I'm not telling doctors that are out there to say that necessarily if they see that it's not, but just to give that hope to anybody. We're all entitled to that little bit of hope, because once you've lost that hope, you've lost it.
Right. Many people when diagnosed, just go inward and have that woe is me attitude, and that doesn't help. So Sally's message has always been positivity, and I bring that message to anyone else suffering from cancer.
Any disease.
And now it's
yes,
your
I know.
message to share. All right, should we take a commercial
Yes,
break?
yeah. Talk
Getting-
about getting warm. I've suddenly got so warm myself. Okay, we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Do you have an idea for a show or a podcast? Do you want the opportunity to be on TV? Ant Media Productions is partnered with True Oldies Real Radio Station and powered by many online platforms such as Roku, Facebook, YouTube, and even Amazon Fire to help amplify your impact. Do you want your voice to reach a wide audience? Call us today at 866-224-5422. Love the Brooklyn Cafe? Don't miss out on some of the latest merch we have available. Need a new shirt? The Brooklyn Cafe has you covered. We have a variety of shirts in all sizes, ranging from the classic cafe shirt to the highly coveted colorful hot dog shirt. Need something for cold weather? Why not grab one of our cafe hoodies? Or you can snuggle up with one of our soft silk touch fabric blankets. The Brooklyn Cafe has everything you need, from clothing about the show to our signature coffee blends and mugs. Get it while supplies last.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book and artwork by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show. Hi, we're back. Okay, we have a few people in the studio. Anyone that wants to call in, please ask me. I don't know your questions. I just rely on my people around me to answer them for me. So if you have any questions, anyone in the studio, anybody out there, please let me know and just talk to me and we'll answer them.
You had put as a topic for today time travel. I wonder if you could explain what you mean by that, and then we can ask you questions about it.
Well, actually, what I'd sooner do is if anybody out, I can explain it, but I work better with a question, so that's so very, I think you did this to me once before, Steve. Time travel is, we're all in one place all at one time. That's impossible to understand that, and I understand that too. That's why I kind of asked for a specific question. Sometimes, and we were talking about deja vu, let's get into the deja vu. We were just discussing that. We believe sometimes when we're sitting here or wherever you are that this situation has happened before. So much so you can even know what the next word is going to be. You go, oh my gosh, we call it deja vu. But I think this is part of different dimensions, part of time travel, because I believe that we can go back in time, we can go into the future. So that's a very, very open-ended question. But if you could just ask me a question on something that maybe I could give a more specific answer to.
Yes. So in talking about time travel, and you said you can go back in time, you can go to the future, are you talking about past lives back in time?
Okay, wherever you want to go, because I think that even though, and this is so hard to describe, but even hard for me to even talk about it, is that we can go back into past lives. What we don't realize, and Aldo helped me very much with this, that when we come into this particular dimension, we actually come in thinking that this is the first place we've ever been. Reason being for that is that we have no memory. And I believe very much so that my memory started to come back. We erase it. It's not gone. And he used to tell me this. It goes into what he used to call a super consciousness. So it's all there, but we just don't know because we come in and we don't remember. However, as time goes by and certain people have chosen to remember certain things, and again, I can only talk by example of what's happened to me. Nobody that's listening has to believe what I'm saying. I can only talk this by example. And you know this, Sandy, a good friend of mine sitting over there. when I started with my messages that I was hearing to start to draw and paint, I couldn't paint. But the most amazing thing for me is that I'm painting from another lifetime situations that had happened. So I can only tell you what happened to me. I'm drawing things from the Renaissance period. I would not have even known because I had never seen these pieces of what I was drawing, these things. But my friend Aldo showed up, of people that knew Aldo, and you know about Aldo, who's telling me, go into the internet and look at that picture that you've drawn. Do you recognize this? I hadn't seen it. So how could I had to question it. I had to. So now when I'm questioning that, I'm thinking, how am I able to draw things that I've never seen? It's impossible.
The amazing part, or one of the amazing parts of what you've just shared, is that was going to be my next question.
Well, I've always said I'm a second ahead. So yes, because I mean, for me, again, sharing my experiences on paper, and you saw me, Sandy, many years ago, and you saw what I was doing then and how my art has changed. And you had met, I believe, Aldo too, right? She had met Aldo. He never led me into anything. He would say to me, if you have a question, because I had many questions at that point, check it on the internet, because he didn't want to lead me into something that I would. So my question was basically to the internet. I would put in Google and say, did this, and this happen? Then he would give me the answer, which was the same as what I was reading. He would explain some of my artwork to me, which is now, I'm going to put out my new book again, is coming out with all these experiences. So that's going to be out in about a week, okay? So it does talk about my traveling and how this all came about. I couldn't deny it. I would have been silly if I had said, well, I had to find out more. And I happened to have somebody right by me that could explain this whole thing to me at that point.
You remember what you saw when you traveled?
I saw many things.
But you remember your dreams.
Yes,
or your
I
travels.
absolutely do, because I was going like 3 times a week for nearly a year, which I document in my new book that's coming out. Well, it's new, it's revised edition, and another one of Call Me Zena. All I knew is that and I'm not someone to write down things, but when I woke up, and even today, if you question where was I on that particular night when I dreamt that 18 years ago now, I can tell you every single detail. And the most amazing thing out of this whole story is when I had what I know it's called astral projection, and I was going out, or abductions, which is going to be coming on Russ's show, that I had been abducted many times. I'm writing it down. And then when I came back and I was going to work on my first time that this happened, my friend Aldo came up to me, and his words, and I'll never stop saying this because it's so important. I'm getting a cup of coffee at work where there's about 70 people working in the place that I'm working. And he looks at me, he said to me, I know where you were last night. I had had no prior experience or anything of this happening, and I thought he was crazy. But he then interpreted every single part of that dream, what I thought I had, although I knew I was somewhere else because I remembered it all. Every detail of that dream, he told me. How could I not believe something was greater than me, right? So yes, this happened to me.
And to my knowledge, you had similar experiences as early as your early childhood, but nobody knew what it was, and it wasn't until Aldo that everything came into place and
Right.
understood what had happened.
Exactly, because I don't know, we pick the time when we're ready, I think. So he waited for me. He even knew that I was in London. This is a man that came into my life here in Florida, and he's since passed, and people that are new to Aldo, he could tell me everything that was going to be happening to me. So he would explain many things. I lost myself for a second. What question was?
Talking about Aldo and how he's influenced and interpreted everything.
Yes, he did, but he never ever wanted to lead me into anything. And so he would be, it was an amazing experience with this man. I knew him 18 years, and he would tell me things that were, well, he never wanted to tell me what was going to happen to me, as I had said earlier, but he'd say this may happen or it has happened to other people. So he never led me into anything, but he did tell me about, one particular lifetime, but I might not have even believed it or understood it. But here I'm drawing and sketching from a lifetime that I had in my own mind in this world right now where I am, had no clue that I was in that lifetime. But how am I able to draw people, places, and things from a lifetime that I was in if I had not been there? I mean, you know, it was somewhere. All our lives are embedded somewhere.
You know, they say we travel in soul families, right?
Yes.
Think about this tiny little area we are right here in Florida. I say we're this little dot right here on this earth. But to think of you and I, we say we've had a past life. Other people that come in here, there's a connection of past lives. Of all the people, places you could be in the world, how'd we all end up in South Florida? How'd you end up with Aldo in Orlando?
Exactly. And how, and I can tell you, including Freddie, if he's over there, each one of us have been in another lifetime together. You know that, Sandy. We have discussed that. Steve, he's with me. You, Dawn, we know. Freddie, I'm sure he's aware of it, but you know, well, I need to keep reminding him about this. Okay, we were all in another lifetime. I believe we were all in the lifetime that was very prominent to me, the one that we were talking
And
about.
how do we all find each other again?
Because it's the way it works. How do all these other things happen? It's a vibrational energy that we get attracted to somehow. And we're at that vibrational energy. And when you're at that, and you had corrected me, and if I remember, I say not higher your vibration.
Raise.
We raise our vibration. See, I remembered that. We raise our vibrational energy, not all the time. But when it's needed, the more we, I'm going to say, advance ourselves, we stay more in that vibrational energy. But when we're on that, it's like a timeline. We're going to say that. That's what the show was, or a different dimension. We're now going to attract these people that are there. I'm not saying that there are other people in London, in wherever else in the world, that are on that energy. But we've connected in this energy here in Florida, where we are in Boca Raton, right? But there are many people out there that have nothing to do with this. I believe, and I'm going to say once again, if you're in this area, this Brooklyn Cafe is magical, okay? It is magical, all right? And I'm not just saying that. You know that I've said that. I meet a lot of people here. This is crazy, and even in my mind, that we're all sitting together and we are in that lifetime. I truly believe we were.
I believe that our relationship was created from a specific timeline, from Aldo transitioning on my birthday of 21, and then we meeting again less than 6 months later, and now we've been married going on 2 years.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It is when we stop to really think about it. You know, sometimes we just accept things, or we certainly pass it off as coincidence. But you know, there's a lot more. There's so much more at play about this. There is so much more. So my message to the listeners listening there, take note of things. That's the most important. If something, even on a, I'm going to say, because I'm going to make it positive, if something happens to you and you say, oh, okay, it happened, but it happens again and you're not taking any notice of that, continue listening and see, maybe that was a message that it could be anything. I'm going to use the silliest thing. You go to do something, and every time you go to do that, it's pouring with rain. That's the message they're giving me right now. So, okay, I'll do it when the sun comes out. We're in Florida. The sun will come out. However, you pick it, whatever you were going to do. This is a crazy telling me. You go to open your door again, and it's pouring with rain. So I don't know why I'm saying this, but I would think twice. If this happens 3 or 4 times, you're wanting to do something and it's raining that day, choose another thing to do on that particular time that it's been raining. And then maybe the timing wasn't right for that particular thing.
Like don't sit on the floor where you could hurt your knee.
Yeah, and that was something, and you absolutely saw what happened yesterday. We had something spilt on a rug that I had. And what happened is we took the rug off the floor. There was something there that I needed to sit down on the floor for something. I can't remember, but I guess maybe I was wiping something. And I said, I need to get up, Steve. I've got to be very, very careful, right? And I said, I knew something was going to happen. What happened? I get up and my leg went one way and I went, I think, the other, and my knee literally cracked. You heard that. Yeah. However, I'm sitting here because I'm a trooper and I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. But I have something happened to my neck. So
I do have a question.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's, anyone else has experienced this, but I've been told, oh, everybody does that. I would just jump up and I would be in the air and I would see things below me. And I would say, well, everybody does that. But I used to have that feeling and happening constantly, but I wasn't really jumping up in the air and seeing things below me.
So,
How does that happen? And someone
Okay,
said to me,
so-
oh, everybody has that dream.
so this isn't a dream you're talking about, that you see this.
Well, it felt real, but
But, okay, so because it felt real, and that is your answer actually, it was real, because some of my dreams that I feel dreams were happening. It's in another dimension, Sandy.
jump up and all of a
It-
sudden you're in the air and you can see everything
Yes, because
below
that's
you.
what they call it, quote, we're leaving our body. And that's what's coming to me. All my travels, well, we had a very good explanation of that. I said, when I come back, and this is why I'm mentioning this, you're paralyzed, okay? But I never had any proof of anybody seeing me paralyzed. I knew, but I wasn't sure. Sure enough, well, not that long ago, last month, right? I'm screaming, help me. I'm in the middle, which I don't usually do because my dreams, quote, are positive, but that I need to explain this to you so that you know it, that you were somewhere else. I'm screaming, Steve hears me, he's in the living room, and he comes out and he says, comes into the room. But I was paralyzed. I couldn't even answer him at that point, and yet I'd been screaming. And you're talking to me, and I'm having no idea what was going on. So we are paralyzed. So I was somewhere else, because why? Otherwise I probably wouldn't be here. Maybe I was having a stroke. I don't know, but I wasn't. I knew I wasn't.
Took me a minute and a half to 2 minutes to
Right.
ease you out of that.
Right. So we are somewhere else. And that was my validation. Is that it's the first time anybody's ever seen me like that. I didn't know, because I know what happens to me. So you see how that's validation. And for you too, Sandy, or anybody else that says this happened in a dream. But if you remember every part of that dream, then you're somewhere else. Another dimension, time travel, bringing it back to time travel.
But it happens many times?
Well, yes, of course, it can happen. Many times we don't remember.
Does
We
it still
don't-
happen to you?
Not for a long time, but I had it many, 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 many times. And I couldn't understand why everyone else couldn't do it. And I'd say, it's easy. All you have to do
Well,
is
that's a perfect
stand up
example.
and you jump up and you just get lifted up in the air.
Wonderful.
And you can see everything down below you. But I couldn't understand, why don't they just jump up and come with me?
That's a wonderful, wonderful example. And thank you so much for sharing that, Sandy. And you know what? We don't always get it either. We don't get it. But as I can only tell you by my own experiences. And I truly believe that you've been leaving your, I've told you that many times, you have been leaving your body. You've had many, many examples of being able to understand that, you know, that you've had situations. You've been in situations that have not been, you know, you needed maybe to want to leave your body at that particular time without going into you. But you know what, Sandy, everything that's happened to you, and that I'm going to say because we're on the latter part of our lives, is for you. Yeah, but to wake up to this, just understand as best I can. I can only tell you my experience, and you know me as your friend. You know what's happened to me has been happening to you too. And that's a very good example. I'm happy that you explained that.
Well, I have something else that's similar, not the same. And I was in the hospital. And everyone with my family was passing by me. And of course, it was like the babies are born and there's a glass window. And they're out there and they're just looking at me.
Sandy, hold your mic like
Hold
this.
And I couldn't understand why they're looking at me and not talking to me. But they were talking, but not to me. And I couldn't understand that. And they would
Okay.
pass by and somebody else would come and I'd go, hey, I'm over here.
Okay,
in
Sandy, I'm
bed.
going to tell you something, not to scare you in any way, but you were very sick, right?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. I believe that you were having out of body. This is not to scare you because it's actually a positive. From everything you're telling me now and from what I understand is you were having out of body experiences. You were actually seeing these people from a different, I'm going to say, perspective. Okay, you were actually looking, when they're not down, they're all around us. But you got better. Look at you now. And this wasn't that long ago. Okay, you were very sick, but you have such a strong urge to live. unbelievably, with all that's happened to you, that you overcame this. You overcame it. You're here for a reason right now. You are. And this is all positive. It's not, I'm not the voice of doom that you died and you came. Well, I have my own views. But you know what? The most important thing is you're here now to even mention the story, right? Because you're not meant to be going
Yeah,
yet.
it's two separate things.
It doesn't matter. It's all part of the same thing. Can I prove this? I'm not telling you I can, but I truly believe it.
Thank you.
Interesting. All right, so my question, what does Elizabeth have to say today?
Well, Elizabeth's been around a lot. I keep seeing restaurants with her name on it. Every time I see the word Elizabeth, I'm thinking of you and Elizabeth, and me too. Okay, she's around. She's going, keep that positive attitude going, Dawn. Keep it going. You're going to keep hearing bridge over troubled waters. They said that very, very clear to me. Because don't take on, and it's the same thing, stop taking on everybody's problems. It's easy to say that. I do the same sometimes. But don't, because you're in such a good place, really. You really are. So much is happening. And it's not even negativity. This is part of your own nature, which is a good thing. But it's not when it's going to make you feel not 100%. And I'm feeling that that happens. But because of who you are, you have the capability of saying, okay, that's their problem. Do that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't help people, but we can't take it home, so to speak. Once we get home, and you know this about doctors, if they start talking about their patients and worry about it and they bring it home, and they're not going to be able to do the job that they're meant to do. And this is coming through when they are not with that particular patient, because they're still thinking about someone else. That has to, they're telling me that has to stop. They're being quite firm about that. There's somebody here saying that has to stop, because you are still, without sounding, you know, that you are important to you. You're very important, and you have a lot of work to do. So stop worrying. Help by all means, but don't take it home with you. Okay, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and you'll stop getting hot and cold.
Interesting. And what do you think? Freddie's been working with a client for a long time. At one time there's a phone call, it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. It happens, going to happen. That's what I'm thinking about, that you had said they came in and didn't, but give it time.
I believe that they're saying you've hit the nail on the hammer on the head. That's what they're showing me, a hammer. Half of me is saying it's this particular person, but I think it's also somebody else too. Is there a group of people? Is there more than one person?
Freddie?
Okay, so the members of this group, I'm going to say some are for it and some are not. But you know what's happening? The negativity part of this scenario is coming about. It could be a very positive scenario, but a couple of members of this group, this is what I'm feeling, have to walk away, or they will by choice walk away. You don't actually have to say anything, but believe that this could be a good situation. There's just a couple of people in there that are not believing that, in a way. That's what I'm feeling. Okay, but don't give up. The answer to that is please don't give up, because maybe a couple of people are not agreeing with it. Does that make sense? Thank you. Could we say that a little louder?
Very quiet over there today.
It makes sense, but it's been such an ongoing, it's been a 3 or 4 month process, and what happens is that the more time goes on, the more pieces are added to it, and the window is beginning to shut on the project. So I don't know, even if it's accomplished, whether or not it's going to have longevity. You know, and
I believe that a couple of people have to walk away from this. Does that make sense to you? Or they have to maybe not be as involved.
Well, that's a very big possibility. I think not being involved is a big undertaking if it can happen. It's just there's a lot of egos involved in this deal.
That's what I'm feeling. And that's why it's not happening the way it should, because it's actually all about ego. This one, that's why I feel that there's a group of people. This one's going, this is the way it should be. And somebody else is going, no, there's too much disagreement with this. So the ones that are, you will feel, and I think you know, that are more on the negative side of this not happening right away, either have to walk away or butt out. That's what they're telling me for the time being. I'm certainly feeling that this, I think I started by saying that it will be a positive situation, but you have to get rid of negativity sometimes. And I think this is like, one day it sounds great, the next day it's not. But this is because there's a lot of personalities in this. There's a lot of personalities I'm feeling that are involved with this, with big egos.
Yeah,
Make
that's
sense?
true. That's true.
Okay. But don't give up on this.
So, Sally, we're presently watching a TV program. It's not a new program, but it takes place in the early 1920s. And you have expressed to me in the past that you feel that you were around in that era, in the Charleston era, the Prohibition era. So in watching that show, are any of those feelings coming to you as we're watching it?
Well, yes, certain situations there I seem to remember, and I seem to feel that people here, I'm not necessarily mentioning it to you, but I think I mentioned someone. I said I believe that he was around at that time. I'm seeing characters, because that's who they are, although they did exist at that particular time. I'm actually, people that are around me now, I'm feeling that's who they were. And I don't want to particularly mention who I said, but I mentioned somebody.
Yeah, and just to make it clear, it's it's a show about gangsters in the.
So if
early
I bring up my
1920s.
grandson, he's not going to like it, right? But I did get feelings that he was on the good side, but I don't, it's not for me. I don't know. He's not around, so it's not, I don't know. But I do see certain characters that are here in this particular lifetime that were positive. I don't want to bring in all these mobsters here either.
You talk about past lives. Sometimes we have to come back because of karma or unfinished business. I know there are certain lifetimes. We've talked about one. I know that I've had a lifetime in the Holocaust, but like really in the camps Holocaust, I know I've had a lifetime back, the Anastasia story.
Oh, I didn't know that. How many times?
Because
did
every time I
mention
talk about her,
Anastasia?
someone does, it makes me cry.
Oh
So,
my
like,
God,
that's
me
my
too.
validation.
Yes.
What messages could there be between all of these lifetimes to this? Like, what is their common thread?
I'm going to figure this out, because how many times do I mention Anastasia to
Many
you?
times over
I
the
get,
last few
I
weeks.
want to cry. Oh,
Every time it
this
makes
is
me
happening
cry.
right now, because I didn't know that. We've had many other things happening. It's being brought up in this lifetime, Dawn. It's validation that we were together. I believe in a few lifetimes here, you know that. And one was around Anastasia, or Anastasia herself. I've always had a feeling that I either knew her or I was around, way before I even understood that. And here, right on the air, you're mentioning that. Other things we've figured out a little bit. So it'll come back. If we call it karma, if you're meant to settle something, there is no good or bad. I want to say that too. We're bringing up gangsters, we're bringing up all this. It's what we choose. I'm not for gangsters and I'm not for murder, but you know what? Everybody has a choice, okay? So we will see, and maybe we want to, I'm going to call it a game. We want to come back, if we were one of these characters then, to have a more acceptable life. But that's up to us. So we want to make kind of a situation that happened in another life to make peace with it. So we bring it into another lifetime. And it doesn't always have to be the next lifetime. It can happen many times in other lifetimes too. But ultimately, I believe our journey and our aim is to get rid of all this stuff. And along the way, we meet people.
Is there any way I can determine, because it hasn't come to me as clearly as it's come to you or Dawn, can I determine somehow if I was in another lifetime and what it was? Is there a way to fix myself in that time period?
Well, yeah, because if you have certain situations, we just mentioned a name here with someone from another lifetime. If you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, and that can happen sometimes when we're watching a movie, you can suddenly say, I don't like that character, no matter what that, or I really love that character, because it's giving us an inner feeling about maybe we were around, not necessarily the character that we're seeing in the movie, but we were similar in another lifetime to that particular character and the characteristics of that. We can do this ourselves. Obviously, I would suggest if you're feeling that and you really want to know, there are many people that do past life regressions, as I can myself do that too, if there's people out there. I get a feeling about other lifetimes. But we actually have all the answers. We just don't know we have the answers, because I call this playing a game. That's all we're doing. So we're waking up to the game.
That basically was the crux of my question, is I don't know where those answers are in my head.
They're in you somewhere. But sometimes it takes somebody else out to trigger that in you. I mean, not everybody comes into this lifetime, because what's the point of the game if we understood the whole thing? We come in with secrecy around this. We forget. But there are people, as Aldo did too, came in knowing his lifetime. But that's a choice. He didn't know every lifetime because he would never have been normal. But we bring in lifetimes into a lifetime that's going to be relevant for this lifetime. We bring in, I'm going to call us characters that we involve, that we can settle whatever it was. We can bring in past loves. We can bring in people that we've hurt to settle what we need to go into the next lifetime. Does that make sense?
And before we wrap it up, you've got some speaking engagements you have coming up. You
Yes,
want
I
to share
do.
some of that information?
I'm going into some of the country clubs here. I've been invited in Boca Raton or Delray, a little further north or south of here. I also have a new book, which we need to just change the cover on there, because the book coming out is going to be out. Well, I think it's actually out now. So what we're going to do is put a little sign maybe on so people can go in and buy the book. It's a new version of my older book. But then I have another one coming out in 4 months that's going to be a slightly different story to that. But I really recommend anybody that's been interested, and we'll talk more on another program, to buy the newer updated version of Call Me Zena, which is available on Amazon and also through Author House. But we'll do that another time. But it talks about what we've been
Is it
talking
available
about.
now?
It's available
Yes.
now. Yes.
Okay.
I've just got to put up something on the screen to make, because not everybody's sitting there with a
There's
pen.
a QR code we meant to give you.
Yeah, so that will be available, so tune in and just go into the QR code. It explains a lot of what happened to me with my traveling. And as a beginner, before we do the next book, I think it's good to read that one so you get some idea, apart from just my show, what actually did happen to me.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'll see you all this time next week. And also, if anyone's interested in aliens, I'm on the next show with Russ Johnson. That's going to be
Lights in
called
the Night.
Lights in the Night, within, I think, the next half hour or so.
I believe so.
So tune into that. I'll be a guest on his show since I've been abducted. Thank you. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.